schedules. Oh, there you go. I just saw the pre-recorded audio there. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for making time out of your busy days and a busy week. I'm sure all of you students are packed with back-to-back midterms, exams, final projects. So I appreciate you all taking the time to join us here today for this presentation. This is the very first presentation from our faculty, in particular to Discover Your Future in Agriculture, Food, and Nutrition. And we are all here excited to present to you and to talk to you more about your options and what's out there. So I'm gonna quickly just go through the roundtable here and introduce some of our presenters. So my name is Samantha, and I am the co-op coordinator for the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences. We have here Trevor, if you just want to kind of maybe wave your hand. I don't know if you can see you still there. Trevor Lehman is a career consultant from Career Services, and then he'll be taking the lead on the career side of things. Kristen Matwichuk, she's our guest speaker for today, and I'll definitely delve a little bit more into an introduction later on. Wayla is our student ambassador. Hi, Wayla. She's one of our student ambassadors in our faculty. In particular, she is also an HNS student, a human nutritional sciences student. And lastly, we have Erica here today with us as well. She's one of our academic advisors from the Student Services Office, and she's going to be sticking around later on as well if you have any questions for her specifically. But without further ado, I guess I covered everyone here. I'll pass it on back to Trevor.
Thank you, Sam. And welcome everyone. Thank you for agreeing to spend your afternoon with us. So we're going to be going till about 3 o'clock without a break. And the session is being recorded if you wish to watch it at a later date. So today we're going to be, now that we've done introductions, we're going to talk a little bit about what career services is and then what type of degrees are out there within the Faculty of Agriculture and Food Sciences. And then we are going to have our guest presenter, Kristen, do a discussion around her own career path. Then we're going to talk a little bit about career planning, co-op, and a question and answer period. And again, if you have questions, if you could just type them in the chat, that would be great. So again, Career Services, we are an office that provides a number of different supports to students. People often think of us as our resume, job search kind of association, but we also provide a number of other supports and resources. A big part of it is career planning. So what we look at is, if you're unsure what you want to choose for a type of work, we can help you figure that out. If you already have a goal in mind, we can help you try to get there as fast as possible. We also help with the dreaded question, which is, what do you want to be when you grow up? We get this one a lot. I know I got it a lot when I was a student, and it's a question that's very common, but it's not very helpful, I find, because we often view career in our office as an ongoing process. It's not like you have one choice and then you're done for life. It's a series of decisions that reflect what you care about, what your skills are, what your interests are. And we help you evaluate yourself and what's important to you, what's out there in the world of work, and where that overlap is. We also talk about how careers aren't straight lines. And I don't want to say no one ever in history has ever had one job and stayed with it. Certainly people do, but it's far from common. So what we often talk about is that people generally have multiple jobs throughout their life, and that they don't always go on a linear trajectory, or you're always presented with more questions. So and options and choices. And we help you navigate them, as well as give you the skills to, reevaluate and continue to rebalance yourself as different things come up in life and different priorities arise. And ultimately, we help you kind of pivot on around chance events. We're going through this pandemic. There's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of things that we didn't predict happening. And a big part of our work is helping students figure out what's important to them right now, as well as how to respond in the future to, maybe some of that uncertainty. And with ultimately the focus being looking at yourself and what you care about, and then what does the world need, and what's the overlap between the two. So at this point, I'm going to pass it back to Sam to talk a little bit about agriculture.
Thank you. So for this next slide, you can see it's common to think, right, that a career in agriculture means working in a farm, maybe located in a rural area of the province. But there's actually more to this industry than what you see or what meets the eye, right? So one of the many things that you can use to help you explore what kinds of opportunities are out there is by looking at a food cycle. I'm sure most of you have been introduced to this like early on, like maybe in your elementary days. But looking at a food cycle and understanding how it works, from preparing food for daily consumption, like that involves a variety of steps to ensure that what gets put on the table is safe, right, and nutritious for people and families to consume. So by looking and visualizing what is involved in that entire process, you can open up a lot of doors for career opportunities. A few things would be like massive industries such as retail, manufacturing factories, service industry, even hospitality, like your hotels and whatnot. Those all also depend on the agri-food sector to provide food, goods, and services to people in the community. So if we put our thinking hats on and get a little bit more creative, you can start to see a lot of different career options in the agri-food industry, and they're very diverse, and there's tons of them out there that will also allow you to make a positive impact and a difference in the world. So one of the many things, I guess like just a quick reminder, when it comes to exploring various career pathways and employment opportunities, an example of by using the food cycle, your creativity and imagination really plays a significant role in all of that. We can go to the next slide there, Trevor. So the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences develops people and ideas in support of providing food, bioresources, and services that benefit our society, the environment, and the agri-food sector. With that said, we do offer programs that explore what it means to grow, produce, and consume food in a sustainable way. Our degree programs and our diploma program in the faculty prepare you for a career that really fits in your passion, whatever it is, whether it's working with animals, managing crops, developing a new food or product, or even promoting human health through nutrition. There are lots of different opportunities here and a lot of different programs, classes, courses that you can take through our faculty. We also offer pre-professional pathways as well if you have a longer-term career goal beyond achieving just your undergraduate degree or your diploma in agriculture as well. So this slide here is just a little bit of a preview about our programs and where exactly do some of these like focus areas kind of fall on, and what areas of the industry they fall on. So I'm gonna hand off this slide to our student ambassador, Wayla, who will be sharing, and we'll be taking turns in the next couple slides here to tell you a little bit more about some of these programs.
So for agribusiness students, they get to learn a lot on business management.
We're having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Wayla.
Oh, you guys not hearing me? Can you hear me?
It's a little quiet.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me better now?
A little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit better.
Yeah, just if you're.
Increase my volume a bit so that everybody can hear me clearly.
There we go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So for students enrolled in agribusiness, they get to learn a lot on business management, market analysis, and a lot more. So for example, in one of my class, my prof actually introduced another prof from agribusiness, and he taught us on those business aspects when listing food in store. I never knew that when you're listing something in a retail store, it actually double the cost of the seller. So those basic business knowledge that you learn in class can be very beneficial in your future jobs, like business development, marketing, and sales, and so on. So for example, our alumni here, Chang Yi, He is currently working as analysis at Statistic Canada. Next slide, please, Trevor. Our animal science students learn a lot on animal nutrition, animal health, and well-being, like animal welfare, which is a really trendy topic recently. Our alumni Lynn has great passion for family farming and beef cattle. She now works as a beef farmer and nutritionist. I myself was pretty fortunate to have taken a experiential learning class at Glenlee Research Station. During that class, I learned a lot of modern animal production and some of the facts and fallacies as well. So with those knowledge and skills and also the connections I made during that class, it actually helped me to land in on one of my summer jobs at Manitoba Association of Agricultural and Societies. Now I will pass it back to Sam.
You're muted.
Plant biotechnology. This program uses applied biology and chemistry to develop advanced knowledge of crop plants and their pathogens. So plant biotechnologists is one of the many career options that you have, or occupations. They develop new technologies for crop improvement. Ours is the only program at the U of M that really focuses on the development of food crops from the molecular level to the crop plant in the field. This program provides students with solid background in genetics, pathology, physiology of plant growth, development of crop plants for food, feed, and industrial uses. So you learn a lot about the fundamentals and the applications of advanced biotechnologies that are currently being used in the industry and also in research projects. Students that graduate from this program usually find employment with a variety of different kinds of employers. So from seed companies to research organizations producing new varieties, even sometimes federal and provincial departments of agriculture involved in regulation, extension, or crop development, as well as a lot of other roles that exist within the private industry can also lead to corporate leadership positions as well. So this is just one of our many other programs that we offer at the faculty as well. If you are also interested in how science is applied to crops to feed and fuel our global society, we also have a program for that as well. So from earth to air and water, agronomists focus on the sustainability of the environment while also producing food, feed, fuel, and bioproducts. So this program opens a world of opportunity, from teaching you how to manage land for crop production, giving you a chance to learn about soil and landscape fundamentals, soil and water management, and whatnot. This program really shows you how agronomy is practiced around the world, but specifically focuses it on Western Canada. For this program, graduates who have pursued this do find careers in crop protection, fertilizer or the seed industry, in some cases crop consulting, working with grain companies, other businesses that fall under the agri-food sector, as well as government agencies and teaching institutions as well. In some cases, if you've taken a class or two that's related to this area, you might also be able to apply your skills and knowledge to family farms. Or if you have an entrepreneurship mindset, you can also start a business of your own as well through this program. So that's just another thing there. Agroecology. So while most of our programs integrate topics about sustainability into classes, projects, and discussion, we also offer a program that is more specific to those who want to specialize in this area. So if you're interested in a career that makes a difference from the ground up, if you're passionate about the planet, concerned about environmental issues such as sustainable food production, weather disasters, or climate change, a degree in agroecology, or at least taking some courses offered by this program, will also open a world of opportunities for you too. Because this program teaches you about management and conservation, about of the world's natural and agricultural resources, but it ultimately also helps you become a good agrologist in a way that you can help use your knowledge to protect the environment and whatnot. So graduates from this program can work in various areas, including government as well. So this is another example of a program that opens up a lot of different career paths for you moving forward. Leila?
Nice. Food science students learn about the process and regulations along the food production. I'm currently enrolled in a food product development class. And in this class, we need to learn everything from researching the test market to designing every single ingredient based on its property and nutrition value. So these skills are super transferable, no matter if you want to become a food chemist or public health inspector, quality control staff, and so much more. Our food science alumni here, Melanie, told us that all the food safety and HACCP knowledge she learned during the school really shaped her career as a HACCP technical advisor at Canadian Grain Commission. Next slide, please. So as a nutrition student, we get to learn a lot of those interactions between human beings and food. So it's not just about how nutrients got metabolized in our body. We also pay close attention on how to help people to have a positive relationship with food. So I am currently taking clinical nutrition, and we are given real life cases. And during the way, we will need to analyze the client's biochemistry data, create suitable educational resources. And in the meantime, we also need to have effective communication with other healthcare professionals. So these communication skills, data analysis skills are essential whether you want to become a registered dietitian or like home economic teacher, research assistant, or any job actually. Our human nutritional science alumni, Laurel, worked as a special event coordinator at Manitoba Pork. So those communication skills are literally essential for her everyday work life. There you go. All those skills you learn are transferable to any career.
Lastly, our diploma in agriculture, we also offer a 2-year program which prepares students to manage a farm or work in an agricultural business. So the courses here cover everything from agricultural production to marketing and business management. And students develop not just communication and leadership skills, but management skills overall needed to thrive in that industry, whether you're working in marketing and financial services, livestock or crops, crop management, agricultural merchandising, or simply managing a farm in the future. So this is just, these are just a few things of our programs that we offer through our faculty, and we thought this would be a good preview for some of you who might not be familiar with the faculty. This slide here shows your advising team behind the Ag Info and the Ag Awards email. So our office, the Student Services Office, helps current and prospective students with things such as program and course planning, registration, graduation checks. They even also help you interpret policies and procedures and answer any other related questions and concerns you might have as a student. They are your go-to team for just about anything. If it's not something that they deal with directly, then they can also make referrals and direct you to other offices on campus to help you find answers. So if you are a current or prospective student for our faculty and you have any questions about any of that, make sure to keep that Ag Info email handy for when you have questions. It's just right at the bottom of that screen there, aginfo@umanitoba.ca. And if you stick around later on, then there's like Erica, who's one of our academic advisors, is also here to answer a couple of questions if you have anything today.
Absolutely. And students can just ask it in the chat as well if they're comfortable doing so. And we can answer them as we're able.
Oh, and other resources. So These are also just a couple of examples of other free resources on campus that we often refer students to. This is not everything. It's a non-exhaustive list. Of course, there are more departments and units out there that provide support to students, but the most common ones that we refer students to are usually Career Services Office, the Academic Learning Center, as well as the Student Accessibility Service for the most part, academic related inquiries and support. So moving on to the next part of this session, I want to introduce our guest speaker for today. Kristen graduated with a food science degree from our faculty in 2016, and she is currently the acting manager of the Bruce D. Campbell Farm and Food Discovery Center, where she uses her skills and expertise to help the public learn about every aspect of food production. We've invited her here today to share a bit about her background and her unique experience, as well as potentially introduce one of the many projects that she's working on as well. So without further ado, I'll hand this off to you, Kristen.
Perfect, thank you. Just share my screen here with you. Alrighty. So thank you first for having me, Sam and Trevor. It's a pleasure to kind of talk about my experience and my career pathway. Much like how Trevor said at the beginning, it definitely wasn't a straight one. So after I talk about what my career path was and how I got to where I am now, I'm going to be showing some videos of other people who work within the egg industry and what their experience and their career path was to lead them to where they currently are. So first, a bit of background on me. So my extended family has been farming for generations in Manitoba, 4 generations. And I grew up near the farm. So my group of siblings and cousins was that first generation not farming. My mom once moved off the farm, started working in agriculture policy, and my dad grew up on a dairy farm as well. But his farm stopped operating when him and his brothers moved away. So out of my generation, I'm the only one who's working anywhere within the realm of agriculture and food. Even my cousins who live on the farm are leaning towards other areas. And I think part of that is a misunderstanding of what it actually means to work within agriculture and find a career. So I'll kind of go over that background when I'm going. Overall, I ended up in a job I absolutely love in a sector I didn't know existed when I was in school. And it took very many twists and turns to get there. So when I imagined, what my career path would be, I really thought it was going to be this straight line. You graduate high school, you get a university degree, if that's what you choose to do. And I'm assuming everyone on here is choosing to do so. And then you get the dream job. And that's the dream job you work at until you retire at 65 or whenever you retire. Wasn't quite the case for me, not quite the case for everyone either. Most people have some twists and turns, and it's just the way that life works out. So my first turn was figuring out what I wanted to do. When I thought about what I wanted to do as a career, like what do you want to be when you grow up, I kept getting stuck and going, I don't know. I think this is cool, but I don't know. And even my mom tried to pitch agriculture to me. And I went, no way, I don't want to be a farmer and I don't want to work in policy. And those were the only 2 things within agriculture I was exposed to. Even growing up near the farm and understanding the importance of farming, I didn't know all of the other career options that had to do with agriculture. So I decided I was going to enroll in University One because I wanted to go to university. And from there, I was just going to pick the course that I thought was most interesting, and that was the degree I was going to do. So my first year, you can see my courses there. I had quite a wide variety. Administrative finance, I dropped after the first day because that was definitely not the realm I wanted to get into. Anthropology, I think I dropped by the voluntary withdrawal date, wasn't my area either. Food science, I found super interesting. History, I really enjoyed creative writing. Calculus and chemistry, I was excited about, and geological sciences and geography as well. In high school, I really thought I was more of an arts mind, and it wasn't until first year university when I took calculus and chemistry that I realized I actually kind of like sciences a little bit more, and I was doing a little bit better in that. And so I decided to choose food science as a degree. And the reason was because I liked the idea of nutrition, you know, how food reacts in your body, what you get from food, but I didn't want to deal with people. So in my mind, food science was the answer. I could learn all the cool things about food, how it reacts in your body, but I stick on the scientific area and I avoid people, because at that time I did not like public speaking. I did not want to do anything there. So my career path, although had a bit of a dip, still it was looking pretty straight at that point. Then there's a second term. I encountered some summer job opportunities. So this probably would have been my third year in my degree studies. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be working full-time during the summer and part-time during the school year, I might as well be working in something that has to do with a possible career path. Keep in mind, at this point, I didn't know what that career at the end of food science was. I still was just enjoying this degree. So I first got a job at the Richardson Center for Functional Foods and Nutraceuticals on a clinical trial. So I was a cook in the kitchen for the clinical trial, preparing the food. And although not the most directly related to my degree, it still looked a lot better than just saying I worked at a Chinese restaurant and Tinkertown and the zoo, which was my resume to that point. From there, I had to get my food handler certificate. And so I attended a Food Safe Manitoba course. That was the company that was offering it. And that morning, I think it was like an 8 a.m. start for the course. And I really wanted to just wear sweatpants and, you know, bum it out during the course because I didn't want to be there. But for some reason, my gut told me, dress a little bit nicer today. And I'm very thankful I did, because the owner of Food Safe was at the course that morning helping out. And when she heard I was studying food sciences, pitched a job to me teaching the food handler certificate course. So not being one to say no to interesting opportunities, I decided to say yeah and started teaching that food handler certificate course. And so from there, I finally found my dream job. I was going to become a certified public health inspector. And that was because the owner of Food Safe was a certified public health inspector, and all of the jobs she talked about were always so cool that that's what I was going to do. And so that would mean obtaining a second degree, a second bachelor degree. But even then, I would end up with the dream job at the end. So as life has it, things change. And as you all know, post-secondary education is very expensive. And so the certified public health inspector degree is a accelerated bachelor program, but it's not offered in Manitoba. I'd have to move to another province to take the course. And at this point, I was living with my parents and they were helping me out with rent. I had blown through most of my savings on tuition, even though I was working full-time in the summer and working close to full-time during the year. And I didn't really want to build up student loans. So my plan was instead, I was going to keep that in my back pocket, but I was going to graduate, work in a food processing plant in quality assurance, and then eventually, when I could afford to, I was going to move and take that course. And so at this point, that's when I was hearing from a lot of alumni from food science that most of them that I had encountered happened to be working in quality assurance in processing. So my path still had a couple more turns, but I thought that was going to be it. I was going to end up becoming a public health inspector. So now another turn came, my plans changed once again. And so one summer I got a job with Manitoba Agriculture and Resource Development. And as part of that job, I was able to tour processing plants. And I thought they were so cool. I got to go on some ride-along inspections that my boss had set up with me with some of her colleagues. So then my plan was, you know what, I'm going to hold off on the certified public health inspector degree for now. My financial situation hadn't changed. It actually had gotten worse. So I thought, you know what, I'll work in a processing plant. Eventually, maybe I'll consider that degree. But for now, I think quality assurance, that's where my dream job is going to be. That's where I'm going to end up. But of course, things change all the time. So as I'm still studying my second summer with Manitoba Agriculture, my boss had moved from Manitoba Agriculture to the Farm and Food Discovery Center as manager. And so she brought me in as a casual student, just helping out. And that's when I kind of realized that I loved public education. I knew I liked it from Food Safe, you know, presenting food safety information to people, helping them understand, helping them discover the importance of it. I enjoyed that. And then I had now Farm and Food Discovery Center, which was giving me the opportunity to educate the public on how our food is produced and include food safety in there, and also stick to my agriculture roots from my family. So wouldn't you know it, that I fell in love, and the part that I wanted to avoid by not going into nutrition, the public, is now what I have kind of found as my unexpected passion. But my plan was still to go into food processing, because at that time I wasn't aware of any jobs within this industry of public trust. It was relatively new term at the time. Manitoba Agriculture had a couple of positions, Farm and Food did, Ag in the Classroom did, but they were all staffed up. So my thought process was, I'll still end up in quality assurance, but maybe I'll do this on the side as a fun thing. So I was still getting to that dream job. So the final turn that kind of led to where I am now, I graduated with my degree. I was working casually while trying to find a job, and I applied at a processing plant to be a junior HACCP coordinator. And that position had the progression. They were going to move the junior HACCP coordinator, as long as they did well, of course, into the lead role, and you would be the lead of the quality assurance team at this processing plant. And that's what I had been, working towards for 5 years now, thinking that's what I'm going to do, is go into food processing, into quality assurance. And something in my gut was, I was hoping to do poorly in the interview. And I didn't want to process at first what that meant until they contacted me, just to see if I was still interested, because there had been a bit of time since the interview. So they weren't yet offering the job, but checking in if I was interested. And it was the hardest decision I've made, but I decided, no, I didn't want to work in a food processing plant. And so it was tough, because I had told everyone around me, I'm going to work in food processing, I'm going to be in quality assurance. And then to have this gut feeling of, I don't think that's what I want. And I had no other jobs lined up. But I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to regret taking a job there. So I passed up on that job opportunity. And luckily, Farm and Food had a job position open, and I took that. And then since then, the manager has been seconded, so now I'm the acting manager. But since then, I've changed my mindset on this, the dream job. I don't really think there's a dream job, but I ended up in a job that I love and that I'm really happy in right now. And that's kind of made me fulfilled for now. So to kind of bring that all together, this is what I thought my career path was. Maybe this is what you're thinking your career path is going to be. And it ended up with quite a few twists and turns. And so right now I'm kind of in this bottom section with Farm and Food. And who knows, maybe I will go back and get my degree in public health inspection. Maybe I'll go into something else. Maybe I'll do something specific with research in food science. I'm kind of keeping my doors open now, because I know how life can change. So with that, now I'm going to show you some career paths that others within the ag industry have taken, that, or what helped these 4 women figure out that they wanted to get into agriculture, and also some of the cool jobs that they had in between.
My name is Delaney Ross Burtnack. I'm the Executive Director of the Manitoba Canola Growers. I'm new into the role. I've just been there for the last year, and it's been kind of an interesting journey to get there. My first job out of school was as a communications person. I was a writer for an agricultural magazine, and I kind of worked my way up through that. So now I'm working for farmers. I work with an amazing team of 7 women, and all of us come together to help farmers grow the best canola crop that they can, one of the biggest crops in Canada and most important crops in Canada, and help them grow that crop and help them sell it, and make sure that people are interested and know about the crop as an oil and as a feed for animals, and look to buy it and support Canadian farmers. I actually had no idea that agriculture was a faculty. I was raised in the city, raised in Winnipeg, My grandfather and my uncle farm in Swan River, Manitoba, just kind of northwest. But I had no idea that agriculture was actually something you could take in school. So I always loved rural outdoors. That's one of my favorite places, is just being out in the country and enjoying nature. And one of the other things that I really enjoyed was a hobby of my other grandfather, which was breeding roses in his backyard. And one year he bred a blue rose that my mother hated and that I loved. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna breed roses. That's my thing. And it wasn't until I talked to somebody who actually was going to school in agriculture that he told me that's actually, you can take agriculture for that. Horticulture is the area. And I was like, what? I had no idea. I hadn't figured that part out yet. So I get into agriculture and find out it is awesome. It was like the Discovery Channel for credit. I took an insects course and completely fell in love with bugs. I took a diseases course and fell in love with pathology. I took weeds and fell in love with weed competition and how it affects crops. So I actually ended up staying for 7 years. I did my undergrad in crop protection, so kind of like a doctor for plants was my thing, how to keep them healthy. And then I did my master's in weed science.
Robin Young. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Food Development Center in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. On a day-to-day basis, I get to do a lot of fun things. I meet with my team every morning in a huddle in our pilot plant to talk about upcoming projects and client work. We meet with clients and hear about their business dreams to grow and start a food business. We develop presentations and host visitors at the center. I create a lot of written documents, including speaking notes and reports and business plans. And the best part of my job is keeping up on food trends and getting to eat and try new restaurants and always experimenting in my kitchen. I have a master's degree in food science from the University of Manitoba and a bachelor in food science from U of M as well. I grew up on a mixed farm and was interested in how we grew things, but most interested in where they were going, considering we produced way more than we could ever consume. So that meant trips to the auction mart and to the grain elevator with my dad. My mom was an educator and encouraged my curiosity. We did a lot of science experiments at home in the kitchen. I enrolled in 4-H when I was 9 years old and got into the foods program, learned to love cooking and baking. And so when I found food science, it seemed like the perfect combination of my love of food and my curiosity for science. And it's a very hands-on and practical program at the University of Manitoba. Over the course of my career, I set a goal to try to work in as many sectors as possible. So I've worked in a dairy facility, a large bakery facility, a research lab, and in the end, I ended up processing French fries. And I had experience working in food safety, also on the production floor, and in the end, managing all the water and waste products that come from making food products. I've taken an interest in different things over the course of my career in the industry, and that has led me to be able to talk to various clients on a variety of food products and know a little bit about a lot of things. If you're considering agriculture as a career, I would totally encourage you. It's so multifaceted, there's so many things you can do. Agriculture is taking place all over the globe, so if you're interested in travel, it's a great way to see the world. Food is important and will continue to be important in the day-to-day lives of our families, our friends, and people around the globe. There are just so many things you can do to provide solutions and constantly be looking for innovative solutions to problems.
My name is Laurel Lyons. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator with Manitoba Pork. On a day-to-day basis, my job can vary greatly depending on the time of year or what month it is. I plan events that allow me the opportunity to engage with the community and with the public. And we can talk about the pork sector or the hog sector and pork being a high quality, lean, nutritious protein. Ultimately, I build relationships, and that helps to foster an understanding and appreciation for how our food is produced. I studied human nutritional science through the Faculty of Human Ecology at the University of Manitoba. I chose to study nutrition because of my interest in food and how our body uses food for fuel. I worked as a summer student for Manitoba Pork for a couple summers, and I've been working there ever since. As I got to learn the hog sector in a little bit more depth, I started to make other connections within the agricultural community, and I started to realize that the ag community was full of amazing opportunities. Manitoba Pork is a fast-paced and exciting environment to work in. There's always a new challenge, and for me, there's always so much to learn. If you were considering starting to study agriculture or food science, I would say go for it. There are so many amazing opportunities that maybe we don't even know of yet. 5 years down the road, there could be different technological advances that produce a bunch of jobs that we haven't even heard of yet. So I think there's so much opportunity, and it's a growing and ever-changing field.
Hi, my name is Kira Rowett, and I work with Agriculture in the Classroom Manitoba as a program manager. We're a nonprofit educational charity based here in Winnipeg, and we work with students and teachers across Manitoba. I get to help students learn about agriculture, to learn where their food comes from and how it's grown. I've always been interested in the natural sciences. And when I was in high school, I thought, how can I take my interest in science and combine it with my desire to do some kind of work that can make a difference in people's lives in a real and tangible way? So I decided that I would become a medical doctor. And that's how I got into agriculture. I knew I needed to do a degree first in another undergraduate area. So I decided medicine had to do with health, health had to do with nutrition, and nutrition had to do with agriculture. So I'd better do a degree in agriculture. I studied at the University of Guelph, and I did a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture there. My major was in agronomy, and my minor was in international agriculture and development. But I never made it into medicine. The first farm I worked on was a grain and sheep farm, and it was a transformative experience. I got to deliver lambs, I got to help with harvest, I even got to go to a small rural fair. I was hooked. Agriculture offered me a way to combine my interest in the natural sciences with my desire to do some kind of work that would make a difference in people's lives in a real and tangible way. Since I didn't grow up on a farm, I dove into farm work during my summers at university. I went on to Ottawa to work with Agriculture Canada doing soils research. Then I was setting up community gardens in low-income areas. I moved to Manitoba and I worked for the Department of Agriculture, providing support and advice to Manitoba farmers. And then I was off for almost 3 years to Zambia, working with Zambian farmers in helping to provide support and advice to farmers who are looking to have greater food security. In all of the work that I've done, I have been able to creatively and practically engage my technical skills.
Hi, my name is Janelle Hamblin, and I'm the manager of swine health programs with Manitoba Pork. Herd health, disease management, and biosecurity are of top priority to our Manitoba hog farmers. My role is to promote swine health and to prevent and mitigate disease risk to our sector. To do this, I manage a suite of programs focused on disease surveillance and response, as well as providing strong biosecurity guidance to our sector as a whole. I also have the opportunity to work on multiple national working groups to promote swine health, as well as plan for future direction in emergency management, market access, and animal health and welfare. I've always had an interest in animal health, disease, and agriculture. So this led me to pursuing and completing a Bachelor of Science in Microbiology, followed by a Master's of Science in Animal Science, focusing on gut microbiology from the University of Manitoba. Prior to working with Manitoba Pork, I worked with Manitoba Agriculture as a livestock specialist, and I always found myself seeking out files related to animal health, emergency management, and biosecurity. In my new role with Manitoba Pork, I get to work on these 3 files and so much more on a daily basis. Agriculture has been and continues to be a big part of my life. To me, agriculture is science, it's innovation, and it's health for both people and animals. But also agriculture is family, and it's friends, and of course, food. And to me, there is nothing more important in the world.
So lessons learned from my experience and the experience of those 5 women who work within agriculture in Manitoba. Career paths are non-linear for most people. Occasionally someone knows exactly what they want, they know exactly how to get there, and they do it, and perhaps they stay there forever. But their life has twists and turns that change what you want to do. So I'll encourage you to explore opportunities and just keep your mind open. If you're dead set that I'm going to do this for a job, it can cause some challenges. Look at my example. It made it such a tough decision to say, no, I don't want that job, because I had convinced everyone around me and myself that that is 100% what I wanted to do, without a doubt. So keep your mind open, find out what you're passionate about and what your interests are, and find a career that matches that. Look at Delaney with her wanting to breed blue roses like her grandfather, or even Kira, how she wanted to pursue something medical because she wanted to help people and ended up in agriculture. There are careers within agriculture that can match whatever interests you have, and there's careers elsewhere as well. So keep your mind open. And lastly, never say never. You never know where you're going to end up. So never say I'm absolutely going to do this, or I'm absolutely never going to do that, because it can definitely change on a dime. So with that, if there's any questions, you can put them in the chat. I also have my email there, so you're welcome to shoot me an email anytime. I'll put it in the chat for you as well. But that's a wrap on my portion.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for that wonderful presentation. If you want, you can put your email in the chat. And does anyone, if anyone does have any questions, we have a couple minutes. If we would like to answer them, and then we'll be moving on to the career portion. Okay, well, we can go ahead and jump into the next part of our presentation, which really dovetails with that idea of being nonlinear. We're going to talk a little bit about career choices now. So I have a short activity for you here, just to get us started. We're going to take a bit of an astrology approach here to career choices, and we're going to look at 2 different jobs. I want you to find, though, your birth month. And I want you to, the month that you were born in, look at the 2 jobs listed and think of which one you'd like to do more. So, you know, again, if you're born in January or February, you're choosing between animal scientist, food inspector, July, August plant breeder versus grain buyer. Think about the 2, take a minute and, you know, pick which of the 2. If you want to, you're welcome to type it in the chat if you have a choice. We'll give everyone a minute to think about that. Okay. So one thing I want you to think about as you're making this decision, food flavorist, yeah, is I want you to think about, is this easy? Does this feel easier? Or does this feel harder than choosing from all the careers out there in the world? What do we think? Easier or harder? Okay. Okay. So lots of people saying easier. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the first thing I want to highlight here, and this is an important aspect of careers, is it's easier to make decisions between a smaller number of choices than a larger number, right? And one of the things we talk about in career is finding ways to not to foreclose yourself to just one thing, but to sometimes narrow down options, because it's going to make the choice easier. It feels less overwhelming than what do you want to do with your future? You know, make it smaller. The other thing I'm going to ask is, and to explore, is what made you make that decision? What led you to make that one decision over the other? And I often find it sort of a combination of 2 factors. One is thinking about what we know about the job. We might have heard about it from friends or family. We might have done that type of work before. We might have watched a Netflix series on it. We get career information from all sorts of places. So that's the one factor that gives us information on it. The other factor is we think about what we enjoy doing. So, you know, if you're someone who enjoys working more with people versus or maybe being a little bit more behind the scenes or not directly facing customers, for example? Are you someone who, enjoys working with data and numbers, or with someone who's more hands-on working in the field, or both? And that's more of a personal value decision. So thanks everyone for who answered. So I'd like to start with that just as a way to sort of introduce some of these careers. The other thing I'm going to mention is that a lot of these jobs we won't choose if we don't know they exist. So if we don't know that they exist, we're certainly not gonna choose them. And that's another thing that we do in career services, is making sure that you're kind of aware of the types of jobs that are out there that might fit with your interests and what you enjoy doing, so that you can get a sense of whether you'd want to select that or not. And it's also important because it fits into our academics. The idea that if you have sort of some goals in mind of stuff that you'd like to do more of, you can find ways to connect it to the courses that you're currently in, and find ways to apply it in that way. I did actually, and so when we're going into career planning, which is a big part of what we do with students, and we do this throughout their career. So people who are coming right out of high school into university we work with. We also work with students who are in their master's or PhD. And we really work at a few levels here. One piece is knowing yourself. What do you care about? Kristen made reference to, one of the videos that she had there was the person who enjoyed growing roses, right? Okay, they enjoy horticulture, gardening. Knowing yourself, your hobbies, your interests, what you enjoy doing, and things that maybe you'd like to learn more about. So knowing yourself is important. Then knowing what's out there, what type of jobs are out there, and what actually is involved in the job. Because sometimes, sometimes TV shows can be kind of bad for this, where they can get us really excited about a career, but sometimes they don't always represent the career as it's completely portrayed, or as it actually occurs. So what we want to do is make sure we gather information, maybe speak with people who work in the field, who work in the area, and really gain a sense of what does this job actually involve. And then if it sounds interesting, let's try it out. Let's try to gain experience through work or volunteering to be able to do the activities that you're interested in. And that'll help also understand yourself better as well as the work. And it's this sort of regular cycle that's a lifelong process. We always talk about in career services, we have one career that spans many jobs and many life experiences and events. We also talk a bit about how there's a big focus on educational planning, but that we always start with you. What do you care about? What do you want to do more of? What do you want to get better at? What types of jobs are out there? And what degree or degrees, because sometimes there's jobs that can involve more than one educational path, will get you there. And as and then through your experiences, your courses, you're going to keep reevaluating. And ultimately, this moves towards, I really enjoy this diagram, so I'm gonna keep showing it throughout our presentation. But this idea that, we look at sort of 4 components. We look at your academics, so what courses do you enjoy? Which ones did you enjoy maybe more than you thought you were? Which ones maybe less, because that's gonna help define what you're studying. But we're also gonna talk about your interests, your values, your personality, you as a whole person. And then, what does the world need? And where's that overlap? We reference something called the National Occupation Classification, which is a document that is like the big encyclopedia for jobs. And I'll actually put this in the chat here as we go. And it lists off it's the Canadian government basically puts out these different categories of jobs and tries to give you a sense of what the main duties are for each of them, and it categorizes them. So, natural and applied sciences, which certainly some of the more field agricultural jobs can have, but also agribusiness can certainly fit into business and admin, as well as different areas here that we'll talk about. But this is one thing that we come back to as sort of the big encyclopedia of jobs. And also, we draw upon a lot of jobs that work in agriculture that we might not always be our first thought. Marketing managers, business development managers, risk management, accounting, policy analysts, program and education coordination, international trade development. You've heard some of these stories from Kristen's presentation, as well as some of her presenters and when we were discussing about degrees. But there's a lot of different jobs that can fit into agriculture that can either involve directly interacting with it or working, maybe as part of the organization. So again, we're not going to spend a ton of time on subject preferences because we've sort of already discussed a little bit about the degrees, but I'm going to go through a little bit about what the career planning process can kind of like or look like in career conversations that we have in our office. We meet one-on-one, as well as we have a more expanded workshop where you'll get to dive into some of these things that we're going to be offering at the end of April, and I'll have a link to registering for that at the end of this workshop. So we talk a bit about, and before I get into that one, actually, I just wanted to mention to Erica, I believe we had a question that was a little bit about the food sciences, not food sciences, nutritional admission to nutrition program. And I was wondering if you wanted to answer that one about how competitive that program is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sorry, I missed the prompt from earlier. So our general GPA cutoff is a 2.0 or higher. So in terms of a specific GPA cutoff for the Human Nutritional Sciences program, it is hard to provide an exact number because it varies every term and every application pool. So we do encourage students to try to aim for the highest admission GPA possible to remain competitive. And for more information on that, I can post as well the link for our applicant bulletin on how the admissions GPA is calculated.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we're going back into interests here, which is, we use something here called the Holland Codes, which is this colorful hexagon, looks kind of like Settlers of Catan. And what it is an assessment that we use. It's one of the most popular ones in post-secondary, and it focuses on what you're interested in, what types of jobs you'd like to, and what your interests are, holistically, not just in work, but in life in general. And then what types of jobs do people who have similar interest areas do? And we typically find people have all 6 of these areas within them, but they have 3 that are their strongest. So the 6 and we will have we'll have a career choices workshop where we'll work through this. We also run this assessment for students in one-on-one sessions, but we often talk about realistic. So these are people who enjoy activities that are hands-on, physical, using their body, often having very tangible, fine motor skills. So like a lot of the trades, carpentry, plumbing, farming, or like I shouldn't say farming more broadly, but the ones that are, really doing the field work. Also things like dentistry though, surgery, jobs where you're working with your hands, that fine motor skills. As well as things like athletics and law enforcement can fall in here. We look at investigative, which are your, are you more research oriented, kind of often depth of knowledge. So knowing a lot about particular subjects, often analytical, problem solving. Certainly scientists can fall into here, researchers are examples, but there's many others. Our artistic are ones that are more creative in the sense that they often have jobs with more than one right way to do things. There's writers, painters, musicians, but also things like culinary arts, where there's more than one right way to do this. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be good at art. An example could also be people who do like art curation and look at kind of what should go in a museum or what is the, the representation of that. We get to social, which is working with people, one-on-one or in small groups, often with jobs that get direct feedback and from the people you work with. So nurses, teachers, social workers, therapists are just a few examples of that. Enterprising is working with others, but more bringing them on board with your ideas. So are you someone who, managers, entrepreneurs, but also things like lawyers might have an aspect of this where they're trying to convince people or persuade people of their ideas. Marketing, sales certainly fall in here as well. And charity fundraisers. And then conventional, which is detail-oriented, organized, and data focused. So they're often focused more on trying to get, specific, they often have step-by-step and often a right or at least a wrong way to do things. So we look at this a lot. And then we ask, everyone here has typically top 3 letters that they score in. And then we'll look at like what types of jobs do people who typically have those same areas do. It's not the Harry Potter sorting hat that's going to say 100% agronomist, this is the career for you, but it's going to give you ideas and options. And again, we want to expand what's out there because we know we don't know what, if we don't know it exists, we won't choose it. But it also can help us narrow things down because we know it's easier to choose between a few options than a lot. And we also look at values, which are, again, there's interests are one piece of the puzzle that can describe what we care about and what we enjoy doing. Values are another. You know, choosing what do you want in a job? Do you want something that's you know, high earnings, working with others, competition, or change in variety? Now, I usually find choosing values is not usually too difficult. You know, I find many people gravitate towards high earnings, but then what it comes down to is this idea of which things would you be, if you had to pick your top 5, would they be? Because often values are more often than not defined by what we're willing to give up. And so part of our values assessments that we run are looking at what you care most about at this time. And again, knowing that life can change, different values can be more important at different times. But right now, and for the, you know, and for the foreseeable future, what do you care about? And then we also look at personality. This gets into things like extroversion and introversion. You know, are you someone who gains energy being around others, or are you someone who gains energy being at home, you know, or with just one other person? You know, are you someone who enjoys having or judging or perceiving? Are you someone who enjoys being organized and having a to-do list, or are you someone who likes to kind of figure it out as we go along? So there's different, this is a third type of assessment. It's often based on what's called the Myers-Briggs assessment, which some people may have heard of. But again, it's these spectrums that we look at that aren't going to tell you exactly what to do, but can sometimes give us help us explore a little bit more about what we care about and what we want to do more of, and use that as a filter when we're looking at jobs. All in the service of trying to figure out what do we care about, and then looking at what the world needs. And in terms of how we can learn about jobs, there's a lot of different ways. One is going to be firsthand experience, work experience, volunteer experience. Those are definitely going to be ways to try out things, and we certainly support students in figuring out ways to gain that experience. We can help you with that. We also look at things like the Occupational Library, which is a library that we've put together that essentially, and I'll put this in the chat, that actually I'll put all of these ones in the chat here, that we basically put together to really walk you through different types of jobs, different areas of work. And if we look at them, what we're going to see is it's going to break down for you, you know, as someone in Manitoba, because I find often there's a lot of different jobs out there and a lot of different information. If you Google something, you'll get lots and lots of hits, but is it useful to you as someone, as a student at the University of Manitoba? We try to put together information that'll be helpful to you. And again, we've put that in the chat. You're also welcome to, it's on our website as well. But I would encourage you, if you're looking at wanting to learn information that's accurate and representative of a particular job, you can check out our library to learn more about that. We also have a career mentor program to help you meet with professionals in the field, to ask them about what their work is like and what they do and maybe recommendations for someone wanting to get into the field. We also have a job boards to a variety of different spaces, including our own job board, which is available to all U of M students as well as alumni. And we have career compasses as well, which is basically a tool that can kind of give you some ideas. So if we look at one such as agribusiness, what it's going to do is it's going to walk you through what opportunities each year of your degree, as well as just a few example jobs that you can do with a particular job. You know, sometimes people associate, you know, I had a student earlier ask about whether, you know, all food science jobs you know, require that you be in a lab. And one of the things I'll often point to, just as a first example, is that when we look at our career compasses, you're going to see a real variety of different types of jobs. You know, that can certainly be, there's certainly some that would focus on laboratory jobs, but we also see people who go into all sorts of different areas of work. So we use that tool quite often as well. We also encourage students to look at job postings. If you go look up 10 companies that you're interested in or 5 companies and look at their website, and they'll often have their careers posted. And you'll get a real sense of what the jobs are, what they look for, and what they want in their employees. And then you can think as a student, how do we make sure that you gain that experience while you're in school, so that in addition to your education, you're also going to have the experience that the employers are looking for. And lastly, we have a workshop on LinkedIn where we teach you about researching and being able to look up who works at different organizations and how they got there. Again, I always emphasize we want to make sure our information is accurate, though, and that we're getting information that's going to be broadly reflective of the job. And looking at similar occupations. So again, I'm going through a lot of this material fairly quickly today, but we're happy to go into greater depth in one-on-one conversations or in our career choices workshop, which is running on April 29th. And there'll be a link. I'll post a link in the chat to register. So, and again, to sort of leave it off, I find students, it can be really challenging. I certainly remember being a student and feeling sometimes a little bit overwhelmed. Am I making the right decision? But I find that with reflection and with, paying attention to what you're enjoying, what you're doing, what you want to do more of, what you want to do less of, and finding and gaining that experience that can help you bring clarity, it's sort of an ongoing process, but it does lead to good decisions that move you towards doing more of what you like. And as Kristen said earlier, that what you like might change over time. But what we can do is certainly try to use our experiences, what we know about ourselves, and what we know about the world around us in order to make informed decisions going forward. So at this point, I'm going to give it back to Sam to talk a little bit about co-op programs, which are one way to gain the experience in the field.
Thanks, Trevor. Thank you so much for going over a few of those those points and those activities and whatnot. Of course, I'm not here to dictate or promote anything in particular, but as a way, one way or one of the many options that you have as students on campus, even though we're working remotely at the moment, the co-op program is one of the many ways that you could take advantage of as a student from our faculty to help you explore opportunities that are out there. So what is it? The faculty program is a program that we offer specifically to students currently enrolled in our faculty that aims to connect student classroom learning. So what you learn from your classroom, like theories, methods, the knowledge that you gain from those classes and discussions into the real world of work. And in that sense, in that case, finding valuable work experiences that will allow you to apply those skills and that knowledge. Ultimately, this program is designed to help you prepare for a successful career ahead of you. And that depends, right? That depends what kinds of jobs you secure along the way. A co-op placement really is a partnership between a student, an employer, and an educational institution. And students in this program benefit not just from, a career and employment support that you get from the program and the coordinator, but you also will get that opportunity to learn hands-on at the workplace, as well as being able to access, right, the industry and our network and so much more. Our email is on here, so it's agcoop@umanitoba.ca, but I'll also type it in the chat here shortly after. There's more information on our website, and I'll try to quickly go over it for a few minutes here for you. So if you go to the next slide, thank you. So co-op placements are full-time paid experiences. Usually these are at least 3 to 4 months in length, but that sometimes depends, depending on the employer's needs and what the industry needs. Because this is a partnership, one of the perks of being a co-op student is that you can work directly with me, the co-op coordinator, to find and secure different kinds of opportunities that will be relevant to your goals. And again, that's different for everyone, right? Just because you're in agribusiness doesn't mean that we're only going to find agribusiness related jobs for you. If you have a minor in something else and you'd like to try out opportunities in that area, that's also another thing that we can help you with as well as part of the program. As well, employers can also work directly with us. So we're kind of like a liaison between a student and an employer and the faculty, not so much just to find these kinds of opportunities or to inform them of the program, but sometimes we do have relationships with employers where we may create different opportunities for students, particularly in specific areas. So the difference, I guess, if we go to the next slide, please. Oh, perfect, thank you. So there are a couple of differences between a co-op placement and a non-co-op placement. But the main thing here really is if you secure a placement and consider it into a co-op or turn it into a co-op work term, you can receive 3 credit hours at the end of that work term. And that's because you are automatically registered for a co-op course. That co-op course is designed to bolster or enhance your experience and not so much teach you new techniques, new methods. We're not asking you to memorize certain things, right? Like unlike other classes, the co-op course really is designed to help you learn more about the workplace, your rights as a worker, for example, how to communicate with your employer, how to build opportunities for you within that workplace or within that work experience so that you gain other experiences and other skills. However, obviously, co-op being in a co-op program, it's optional, right? Like you don't have to go to the co-op program to find these opportunities. Non-co-op placements, on the other hand, these refer to any jobs that you secure along the way. So if you find a job on your own, if you use the Career Connect job board as one example, or you found a job on Indeed, or let's say you connected with an employer and was able to secure a position through that employer, through that connection, everything else outside of the co-op program, we would consider those as non-co-op placements. And for those, unfortunately, you don't always receive credit hours towards your degree. You have other perks, right? But in order to receive the 3 credit hours, you have to be a part of the co-op program to get that towards your degree. Next slide. Perfect. So what does it mean to be a co-op student? Co-op students, essentially being a part of the program, it's a commitment. You have to make that decision. You have to understand that you will need to put in the time and the effort. Not similar to when you're looking for other jobs, you will still have to apply and secure those positions. You will still have to practice your skills with an interview. And if you're not sure about how to communicate with an employer, you will have to still go through all of that to help prepare you. However, one of the many things that you can expect is being a part of the co-op program will give you access to exclusive support. So in addition to your access with career services, for example, for career and employment support, being a co-op student, you have those extra perks of reaching out to the co-op program, like reaching out to me specifically and say, hey, like I'm really having a hard time. Can you help me, like with my email, for example? That's one of the many perks that you can get being a part of the program, is that you have access to staff specifically that will help you with those kinds of inquiries. As part of the, perfect. So I guess like at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, do I have to apply to the co-op program to secure jobs? And like I said earlier, no, you don't, right? Like different students have different reasons why they apply to the program. Some want to do it because they want to earn credits. Some do it because they want to gain the experience and might need a little bit of help. Some people do it because they just want to expand their network and utilize, right, like our connections through the program to do that. Different people have different reasons, and some students can use this as a tool to explore different career opportunities or employment opportunities out there, especially if you're still unsure. So in some cases, securing a work placement through the program can also become a bridge to long-term employment. And that depends on what your reasons are and what motivates you, right, to join the program. However, in some cases too, like if you're not, like if that's not an option for you, like because there are additional things, right? Like because you are registering for a co-op course, you have to pay for a fee and whatnot. It's not the only option for you out there. As you continue throughout your journey in university, it's important to know that learning can extend beyond the four walls of the classroom, and it definitely extends beyond the co-op program. Within the co-op program, you can definitely open up a lot of doors, but in any case, like there are additional services out there for you. If you're still on the fence, or if you're still not sure if the co-op program is for you, and career services is just one of the many options out there to help you explore what's out there for you, and ultimately, hopefully, help you feel more confident about your career plans, and finding and securing those valuable work experiences. And I would definitely like to say that there's definitely something for everyone here, with or without the co-op program.
All right. Thank you so much, Sam.
Yeah.
We're going to move to question and answer period, but I just want to mention that on Thursday, April 29th, hopefully as everyone's just finishing up their exams, and we are going to be running a workshop in the evening from 6 to 8 p.m. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that information in the chat, but you can register for it on Career Choice or on our Career Connect, which is where you can also find our job board. And I'll put that in our chat here. I'm also going to include the Career Services Office information. So if you'd like to book an appointment with a career consultant, you can directly reach out by email or phone. And we can set you up with a meeting one-on-one. The Career Choices Workshop, that was a really great great experience to really spend 2 hours going through some of those assessments that we just talked about, looking at different types of occupations, getting a chance to go in depth through the occupational library and really see different types of jobs that are available in within agriculture and food sciences. Also, Sam's included the co-op link in there as well in the chat, which is great. So these experiences again can be a real way to start to look at who you are, what you care about, what does the world need, and where is that overlap as well. So I want to thank everyone for coming today. I thought we'd just open it up to questions here. If you want to type in the chat, we're happy to answer them, because I'm sure others probably are wondering about the same thing. If you feel more comfortable messaging me directly, you can do that. I'd prefer to read them out just so that we can but I will try to keep it anonymous. Yeah, so if you're to register for a Bachelor's of Science in Food Sciences, would I still be able to take things like animal systems, agronomy, and plant biotech? In terms of courses, I'm thinking. I'm curious, Erica, if you'd be able to field that question.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, in terms of courses, definitely you can, while you're doing your food science program, you can definitely take courses in animal science, agronomy, courses within agronomy, the agronomy program, or plant science courses. So you're definitely welcome to. We do have restricted free electives that you can utilize. I believe it's about 27 credit hours or 3 credit hours for food science. So you can definitely utilize those in taking other courses that you're interested in.
Erica, did you want to quickly tell students about the program planning options and how that works with our faculty?
Yeah, for sure. So for incoming students, we kind of just do it informally, just because you're just entering the program. But when it's like your second year or third year in the program, all returning students, we do like a course planning in the summer. So that's a time for us to kind of look over like what you're planning to take in like fall and winter, just to kind of make sure that you're on track with your program. So that's what we do, and then we just provide feedback, and that's a lot of our students have found that really helpful, just to keep them on track, especially those that are graduating right after that year.
Perfect. I have another question here. Can I take food science with a minor in nutrition?
So for that one, I would say yes. Yes, you can. I do have to double check though, because so usually the minors, what we do is we just try to make sure that the courses that you're taking in your minor do not overlap with the courses that you're taking in your major program. So I just have to double check that. Unfortunately, I don't quite deal with that as much as often as I do. But if you send an email to eginfo@umanitoba.ca, I can double check that for you and provide you with more information on that.
I added it
sounds
onto the chat there
Okay, thank
for
you.
everyone.
perfect. All right. Well, we're going to keep doing questions. As we're coming up to the end of our time, I'm just going to end the recording, and we'll be able to stick around for a few minutes though and continue to answer questions.